Perhaps we all introduce ourselves and then we know who we are. I'm John Kelly from FC United. Perhaps we go round and you know who we are and then you can say who you are.
I'm Steve Mills from FC United. I'm branch secretary for the Newton Heath supporters branch.
Neil Boothman, board member at FC United.
I'm Chris Wellhan, I'm Steve's partner.
I'm Marley, John's partner.
Right.
I'm Rob, privileged to chair the Newton Heath branch, which meets in this this Thursday, so you're very welcome.
Yeah.
I'm Mike, I'm a friend of John and Mike.
Mike's a railway engineer, we're rail. So
Right.
sort of, and that's right.
I'm Ron Sinclair, life present. I always
Leaflets. Leaflets.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, right.
Who's still there? Go on, take it all.
We'll leave a few in.
Go on,
somebody else will
Someone
I'll take
Right, thank you. Sorry to interrupt your meeting.
So, guys, do you want to introduce yourself, say a wee bit about our society? Because I also am a member of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Society as well. So,
I'll let Nigel do that then.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm a member of the committee member of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. My name's Nigel Thornley. And basically, we're a historical society meant to perpetuate the memory, etc., of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. So we actually collect drawings, everything like that. We actually work with the National Railway Museum. All our drawings are actually archived in Central Library now in Manchester. So they're still the property of the LNY Society, but we have an arrangement so they're properly archived and put away. As unlike the National Railway Museum, it tends to disappear into a black hole. We're the longest actually existing what we call line society, and it's been going over 60 years now. Yeah. So you know, and tremendous following. We've got over 800 members and people out in Australia, strong branch out there in America, and so on. So that's.
Do you get to go and visit?
Sorry?
Do you get to go and visit?
Unfortunately, no. They come and visit us though.
Oh, right,
That's fine. And what was it? This Christmas, I actually got a phone call from Australia just to wish me happy Christmas.
Very nice.
They do.
and I've got to say that I'm retired from Network Rail, but I've joined society and it's absolutely brilliant society. I'll pass this round. It's one of our magazines, and it says that it's a good one to flick through because these guys are really experts in their field. We've got pictures of all the locomotives, we've got pictures of the wagons, we've got pictures of all the fleets of ships, because it was a huge organisation as well, with ships as well. And in this magazine, there's also one about a little football club that was formed in 1878 from the carriage and wagon department. And I've actually, it's on that article now on that board if you want to have a look. There's three pages of that. And he was reading that and talking to Neil, let's do our football tour. So that's why we check all our details, because in the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Society, the details are always really sharp.
Yeah.
Dimensions of drawings, and the expertise as well. I'll show you a picture and say, well, I think that one was taken in 1924, because looking at the coupling, and looking at the livery, and the address of the people behind, they're really that sharp on the ID. So it's one of the ones that verification.
To give them some idea of its existence, we had a member, who gave a talk at Manchester Club about the locomotives of the LNY in LMS use, that became part of LMS. And in all these photographs from 1923 onwards, LMS locos, some of them hadn't been really numbered. It took a couple of years to start, but give them all different locos. How long they've been. 60-year-old. He didn't mention it had re-tubed twice and new tyres on it on 4 times. It's like the joiner's hammer, isn't it?
Well, don't tell them Flying Scotsman's mainly you.
It's like a trigger's brush, isn't it?
And he finished off by saying, I will now show you some more. And he showed us 4 or 5 in BR days. They were still working in BR days. And they were pre-23 anyhow.
Just to give you an idea, the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway was the 5th largest railway company in the country. Now, most people outside London didn't know of it that much. It styled itself, the business line. And that. And also, here's a quick pub quiz one. What's the longest journey you could actually book on the British Railways? On the British Railway. Which company could you book the longest one? And the obvious answer is the Ellen White, but where was it from? This is purely on Ellen White owned stuff.
Is that including ships?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Probably.
Belfast to Antwerp.
Yeah.
You could get one ticket, Ellen White, and you literally left Belfast across to Liverpool, Liverpool across the country to Gould to Antwerp.
Brilliant.
You know, so absolutely fantastic, tremendous history. And if you look at so many of the chief mechanical engineers of various other companies, they were actually trained on the Ellen White.
Right.
Monsell for the southern region and so on. Gresley, of course, you know, lots of them all came through the school.
Another thing is, if you look at Victoria Station, on the carpet, it's got various places, Belfast, you know, and on it you used to have all these big places, Middleton, Brighton. Another kid, talk about kids in 1947. How come? What's important about Middleton? They were the end of the line. Middleton was a terminus, so was Brighton. And all that kind of thing, they were all terminus of their, that's where you got Belfast from. Its extent was.
So I think we're here because of one of those engineers, amazing, Nigel Gresley. And I think if you like, I think you want to tell us a bit more about him because it's remarkable. And today is the 75th anniversary of his death. I suppose you call that a death day on the birthday, but it is today the 75th anniversary of that guy there.
So
How
excuse
old was
me.
he when he died?
65.
Really young then.
Oh yeah, he was young, unfortunately. Yeah.
Back to their standards, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're talking 140 years ago since he was born.
But anyway, I've got a few notes here. So Herbert Nigel Gresley was born in Edinburgh, which I didn't know, on June 19th, 1876. He was the fourth son of Nigel Gresley, funnily enough, who was rector of Seal in Leicestershire. So, you know, surprising how much the church is interleaved with all this. After an education which included Marlborough College, he joined the LMWR, which is a small railway down Crewe, I think, in 1893 as an apprentice to William Francis Webb. This finished in 1897, and following his mother's contacting Aspinall, which is John Audley Frederick Aspinall, known to his friends as John Audley Frederick Aspinall, but that's another story. He became a premium apprentice to the CME for 1 year to cost of £150. His qualities must have been recognised very quickly, for in the next 7 years he rose through the ranks of the LYR to become the Assistant Carriage and Wagon Superintendent in March of 1904. His posts were 1899 in charge of materials testing room at Horwich Works, 1900 running shed foreman at Blackpool Central, June 1901 outdoor assistant in the carriage and wagon department,
North Road.
No problem.
March 1902 works manager Newton Heath, March 1904 assistant carriage and wagon superintendent, effectively the top job at the time on the Ellen White, and he wasn't yet 28. So incredible person. From this point, promotion within the Ellen White would have been very difficult. You can imagine, it's not much go. And Aspinall arranged through his friendship with H.A. Ivett of the Great Northern Railway for Gresley to take the post of carriage and wagon superintendent of the Great Northern Railway from February 1905. When Ivett retired in December 1911, Gresley moved into the CME's job, Chief Mechanical Engineer's job, aged just 35. Virtually unheard of. You know, Chief Mechanical Engineer of a main railway company at 35. During his time on the Ellen White, Gresley was very much part of the Aspinall family scene, being adept at lawn tennis, which Mrs. Aspinall adored. Whilst at Blackpool, he met and married Ethel Fulliger of St Anne's-on-Sea, the daughter of a local solicitor. He took several Ellen White ideas with him to the Great Northern Railway, And as one of his specific locomotives, number 4472, a certain Flying Scotsman, was the first loco in Britain to officially attain 100 miles an hour. How proud must Aspinall have been of his pupil? After a short illness, the brilliant and innovative steam engineer Gresley died on this day 75 years ago, in his 65th year. So that gives you encompassing.
So when did you design Mallard then?
Sorry?
Mallard, when did he?
That was in the 1930s. Right, he did Flying Scotsman, I think late 20s or something like that. So, and then of course they were doing this battle effectively between the LMS and the London North Eastern Railway, and it was all about publicity. I mean, Stanley, who designed the Stanley Pacifics and everything, the Duchesses, he didn't want the streamlining on it, but the publicity department did. Whereas on the LDR, Gresley actually designed the whole thing so that, you know, it actually did a purpose. It wasn't just for publicity. It actually achieved what he intended, you know, to actually make the loco go faster at speed, effectively.
But it's beautiful as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And,
It would have been better in red.
none of them were red. There were pale ones, weren't there? There were green ones, blue ones. He also, in his house, used to breed ducks. He had a moat, he had a duck house. But he used to breed ducks, and three of the class, one is mallard, but another one is Gargany, another one is Pinto. And I think we were looking at the names, weren't we, the other ones? The other ones are like Newton, South Africa, Sir Nigel Gresley. There's various names, but some are named after ducks because they are fast flyers in level flight. And in fact, the mallard is the fastest one. And I wonder if he knew that. And the loco he chose to beat the record of 126.3 miles an hour. But that's the plaque on side of mallard. It was 6 weeks old out of works, and it was just worn enough to not be tight when you made a brand new locomotive, but not too old to be loose and losing steam.
Yeah.
It's one of the first ones, I think, with a double chimney.
Absolutely. So you wonder if he, you know, keeping mallards and liking ducks, but he said, right, I'm going to choose one to beat the record because it was a special train for a few carriages and the LNER dynamometer. So he was a very organised man, and I wonder if he purposely chose the locomotive to beat the record, because that is Britain's fastest bird in level flight. A peregrine goes faster, but it just falls out of the sky. That is under its own power. The Mallard, and that was the marvellous.
Magnificent engine.
And we've actually put some stuff up about Sir Nigel there for you to look at. And also there, Nigel's achievements, and I think as we've said, including Flying Scotsman breaking 100 miles an hour, but there's some technical achievements as well as the new gears and everything else, plus a load of classes that are designed up there as well to have a look at.
And you'll notice, gentlemen, the very nice emblem on your tie and on the front of your magazine is also on our branch.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And in fact, Jenny, we've got a question for you. Neil and I run the football tours. And you saw the 1878 on the local there. That was the year where they went, the carriage and wagon lads went to the carriage and wagon superintendent called Charles Attic, who's in one of our magazines, and said, can you form a football team? Of course they did. And Neil and I covered that on the tours. What Neil and I have also done is to cover the early strips as well. I'll just go and show you the ball if I may. But that's Rob's flag, and they picked up the green and gold of Newton Heath. Do you want to just show that? We picked up the colours of Newton Heath, and it's the green and gold. That's the original strip there on those. The original strip. So the question for you guys, we keep getting asked, are they the colours of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, the green and gold? Well, we know. Where do you think they got them? Could it be?
No, there was a sale at Primark.
Could it be the green locomotives?
Hold on. Well, yeah. In the early days, you've got the Manchester to Leeds Railway, right, and that built the original line through the Calder Valley. So, and they actually ended up at Oldham Road. It was their station into Manchester. And you got the East Lancashire Railway, right? That did Preston and down to effectively Clifton and so. And then the Manchester and Leeds became the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. And then later on, they amalgamated with the East Lancashire. There's always been a lot of friction between them, but then finally they buried the hatchet and joined, and it all became L&Y, so the L&Y expanded. And at that stage, when Barton Wright came in, before that you had Jenkins, Yates, people like this as chief engineers, and the whole engine stock was decrepit, and it was like known as the slow and dirty or something like this, you know, the L&Y. They brought in Barton Wright, brilliant engineer, who started standardising things and lifting the whole thing up. So all of a sudden the railway was taking notice of in the UK. He got the idea of businessman. Now, at that point, he painted all his engines green. So when Newton Heath FC effectively was founded, a lot of the engines would be green in the early days. I think Barton Wright was actually involved with the club in the very early days. I'm sure I read something about that. L&Y, you know, Newton Heath FC. And you could well be, it could be the brass and the green. Aspinall came along and the colour became, of all the engines, became black. You know, with either, for the goods engines, just twin red lines, or for the passenger engines, white, red and black, or white and red. Yeah. So it could have been from the very, very early engine colours.
Okay, can I ask you, we've got the red and white. When it then went to red and white.
Yes, which you'd figure.
Yep. And then it went back to the green and gold. And when they became Manchester United, they were going for a bigger brand, so they went to the red and white. Could the red and white be the white rose of Lancashire and the red rose of white rose of Yorkshire and the red rose of Lancashire?
It could have well done. That's why you probably came up with these colours for the album.
It's a bit of fate, isn't it, really, when you think about it, because started off with green and gold, or green and yellow,
Yeah.
and
That was the colour of the original logos.
yeah, and then the colours are red, white and black, the same as yourself, and United played those colours to the stage.
Yeah.
Mention that, yeah, that it changed its name to L&Y.
Yes, it changed.
So there's a great history, there's a great railway history, there's also a great football history, because the name of the early railway team, Union, was called the Coach Builders, because they all played on North Road, less than a mile from here. Actually, they were called the Coach Builders originally. That's the reason.
Which figures, because when you look at the various types of carriages that you get throughout the history of the L&Y, you tend to refer to them as, oh, those are attics, you know, or those are Hughes. So they always was the person who was in charge of the carriage and wagon works. You know, you don't say it's a diagram, so well you do, but you tend to put them in batches. You know, you said that period was an attic period, and they're recognisable as well.
And as the team came out of the coach works,
Yeah.
were the coaches in a yellow livery at all? Was that tied in?
No, the original coaches, I think, had just been varnished. They were teak, effectively, with the metalwork painted or black, Japan, so. And then later on, they came out with the lake at the bottom of the coach, which is like that purpley brown.
Yeah.
And then the top, it's actually called sandal. Yeah, but what we call tan.
Right.
But the actual technical term is sandal. We actually found the company that made the paint for the L&Y is still in existence.
Is it?
And I think it's either Ripon or Ripondon, it's one of the two anyway. Because when we were restoring the coaches on the Keighley West Valley Railway, we tracked it down and they said, oh yeah, we can mix it. We've got the recipe and everything like that, and by the way, it's sandal, this top colour. And equally well, when we started restoring the engines across there, then we needed the crest. There's a company in Birmingham, and we went down there and said, you know, we used to make these crests and everything. We said, just a minute, how many do you want? In a drawer. These are transfers
Brilliant.
that go on.
I suppose varnished teak in the right light
Yeah.
could give a gold look to it.
When you used to have green engines, the carriage often were like a varnished teak. And then later on,
You would have all the brasswork though, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have all the brasswork? Would you get the gold like from the brasswork on the engines?
And these
the
are
domes
coach
would
fillers.
be polished brass.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
that
really the only bit.
So that would be like where you'd maybe get the gold from.
Yeah, might well be.
I'm just thinking with the meat coach fillers and stuff.
In our travels, we played a team called Marine as we've gone, and they've got a green and gold flag with Marine. And Marine was a team that plays just north of Liverpool Docks. And Liverpool Docks were Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway.
You got, I don't know which specific docks. Actually, you had London North Western there and the LNY, and each had their own warehouses and stuff like that. So, and I can't remember offhand which is which.
I don't want the direct contact under the overhead.
Yeah, cool.
Direct contact off the overhead.
Oh yeah, they actually made some lightweight vehicles, so they could actually run them on in the LNY and take them onto the Dockers Umbrella, the Liverpool Overhead Railway, and round that as well.
So I hope that was interesting and a bit more background about the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, but also the connection with the football.
We'll do some more research on the colours for you.
Can I just ask, could it, I'm stretching a bit here, and
Yeah.
I doubt there's anything left in existence, but could it refer to the upholstery?
I doubt it.
In first class?
First class, I think, was red. Red or blue?
In that state, in the green and gold?
I don't know.
There's a mission for you.
We've got pictures. I've got some pictures of the wagons, the carriages, but unfortunately all black and white.
Yeah.
Black and white things. And it's quite good. Same with the football team. In 1878, the pictures of black and white. And it's trying to introduce what the colours were. Wonderful. Well, thank you, gentlemen. That was really, I found it really fascinating as well. So I think, Steve, do you want to say a bit about the plaque and what you've done and everything else?
I mean, obviously when FC United moved up into here, it became an ideal opportunity for the club and the supporters branches as well to become more engaged with the community. And FC United is a community-based club. And to engage with the people and the surroundings, and certainly with the engineering factions and all the history of Newton Heath and Moston and Manchester and its general location, etc. It seemed an ideal opportunity for us to do this sort of stuff with the football tours. Because it's not just about a football team being up here, it's about the community around it, because obviously we draw the community as our support.
Yeah.
And when John was mentioning about Nigel Gresley being an engineer down here, the railway obviously maybe when Mel was been his local, you know, it's like the snow, but he probably did come in if we were around. And again, we located with Barry that there was an original plaque outside that somehow disappeared over the years through the decorations. It seemed an ideal opportunity for us to as a football player, to sort of engage and say, well, okay, let's put something up as a recommendation or a recognition of the fact that we've had such a famous guy on our doorstep. So we located. John located the actual original plaque, and I got a friend of mine that does a bit of sign writing and stuff, so we put one, we've made up, and obviously John's done a bit of other sorts of history as well and pulled things together, and it seems nice to bring something back into where we have our meetings, because our branch meetings are here every Thursday of every month, and it's good to sort of, you know, like you've seen the people outside there that weren't unaware of what's going on, but you know, we've got people that are taking brochures of possibly new memberships.
And drooling over a lot.
Absolutely. and other models, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And just to supplement what Steve said there, the link between our footballing heritage, which is the link between our footballing heritage,
Massive because of the bar.
which goes back to Newton Heath, obviously, and today is that working class community, because the community of the Wagon Works form the football club, which is
All the early locos, the ones we're talking about, possibly gave that colour, were built at Miles Platting.
Right.
Because Horwich didn't come along until 1880 odd or something. Right, and that's because they had a disastrous fire at Miles Platting. At that stage, because it was still the Lancashire and Yorkshire, if you like, and the East Lancs, even though they were merging, they had two locomotive works. You had the locomotive works at Bury, which is up till recently Ian Riley was using for restoring Flying Scotsman.
Yes.
And is that for closing circles? And it's actually the longest working locomotive works in the world. Yeah, it's been in continual use as a locomotive works from when it was built in the East Lancs days. And the other one, of course, the original Manchester and Leeds, which became LNY, was Miles Platting. That burnt down. It was they just hadn't got the capacity, and that's when they went and bought it. They got one of the directors actually. He bought an estate at Horwich and gave basically it to the LNY.
Right.
And they Ramsbottom designed Horwich, and the guy who finished it all off was Aspinall. And then if you go there in Horwich and you go along the streets at the side of the works there, you'll see it's Stevenson Street, Webb Street, all the names you can think of connected with the railways.
Right, really.
Because they actually built their own town in there to go with the works. And a lot of the people who went there originally worked at Miles Platting or in Bury.
Fantastic.
But while they moved the loco works to Horwich, they moved the carriage and wagon works to North Road. So they moved them here, and that's where they fabricated them here. And just as we built a football club in Manchester, they used to build railway locomotives in Manchester. Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway also, as well as building them, we also bought them in as well, didn't they?
They did.
Quite a number of the buyers, Barton White.
Well, they bought them up and bought them in right up till the day that Horwich was opened, right? It actually caused a bit of a furore because at one stage, when Barton White, as I mentioned, came on board, the locomotive stock of the LNY was absolutely decrepit. Yeah, so he couldn't repair a lot of it, he just scrapped it. And to fill the gap up immediately, he went to things like A. Peacock in Gorton and that, bought locomotives from them, Sharp Stewart.
Whitworth Street in Manchester, before they moved to Glasgow.
Yeah. And he caused a bit of a furore because he was so desperate for locomotives, so he went to the London and North Western Railway and said, can I have some of your locos? So they built some at Crewe. But that caused an outcry because you had the private locomotive builders, and they said, you can't have one railway building locomotives for another railway, you know, if they can't build their own, they come to us, the private sector, you know, so that was the last they ever bought from, they managed to smuggle a few more, you know, to keep them running. But as soon as it moved to Horwich, and the first engine came out was Aspinall's Radial, the 1008, which is stuffed and mounted again in the National Railway Museum, they never ever bought another locomotive. That was it, apart from two rail motors, which were Kerr Stewart, that was just a try, but otherwise everything else was totally built at Horwich by the LNY.
I'm thinking they get a flag up because there is a loco, a 442 locomotive, which is our football formation. They're on the wheel formations, 442.
Although you can't always decipher that, can you?
Yeah.
When you watch.
The 442 Atlantic was known as the High Flyer, right, because the original 440,
Beautiful loco.
yeah, the original 440 was called the Flyer, they had one nickname, the Flyer. And when the 442 came out, the Atlantic, and Ivan, who's a friend of Aspinall's, because they both worked at Inchicore across in Dublin, right, so they knew each other very well. He just beat him, came out with the Atlantic from the Great Northern Railway. Aspinall came out with his Atlantic, but the boiler was so high on it that it automatically got the name High Flyer, and the high was because of the pitch of the boiler. And in actual fact it was used on the trains going up to Newcastle, because they used to run trains between Newcastle and Liverpool and that, and Fleetwood, boat trains. And they used to alternate because the NER would run trains and then LNY run trains through. And apparently the guys in Newcastle, the North Eastern Railway guys, nicknamed them Zulu Chiefs because they were massive and black. all the other engines running through there were like green and stuff like that, and then these things came hurtling in.
One interesting point is that Liverpool Manchester, the L&M, finished at Liverpool Road. That was its terminus.
Right.
And the M&L, Manchester and Leeds, finished at Oldham Road. Now they were all built for local. We'll have our goods from Liverpool to Manchester, and Liverpool. And somebody else will think about Leeds, Manchester. So they weren't thought about.
They weren't joined up thinking.
When they got to the stage of using them, and there were horse and carts transferring goods from Oldham Road to Liverpool Road and vice versa. They said, well, we can't do this. So they altered the lines at Miles Platting and died down and created Victoria Station. They altered the line at Salford from where it went into the Liverpool Road,
Yeah.
and brought that through Salford into Victoria.
All right.
I mean, not everything was done perfect to start with.
You've got that big map, haven't you, Victoria?
Oh, yeah. It's funny that the either rail track or network rail a few years ago got some industrial cleaners in, to clean up Victoria. And someone went and looked and they were cleaning the map and all the paint was coming off. And they hadn't got a picture of it. So they actually came to us and said, help. Can you help us restore the map? Have you got any decent photographs and things like that of what it should look like and the colours and everything? I said, yeah, we have. Yeah.
They don't wipe it all off.
No.
It's stopped. They do look a bit and stop.
Industrial cleaners, of course, it's painted on, it's not glazed in, it's actually painted onto the tiles.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Isn't that hard to believe we do that? Is that hard to believe?
Very hard to believe.
We've
Were
actually,
you involved in that?
they actually published 2 rolls of honour from the First World War, and one was everyone who'd actually served from the LMY, and another one was the people who'd actually given their lives. And it was on the list of which department, like the Newton Heath or whatever, carries your wagon and stuff like that. But one of them, you actually get this, and it was given to all the families and to people who were in the LMY time. You open it up, and it actually has a full page picture of the war memorial. And, it goes through all the symbolism, why it wasn't just built to look like that with panels in. It actually chose specifically the type of stone that went in. So some came from like Northern Ireland, some from Southern Ireland, all different types, and had all the reasons why they actually picked it and what it represented.
Is this a building of Victoria?
That's the war memorial of Victoria.
There's a bronze memorial with plinths below, and then there's a bronze plaque, and then the map is above that.
There's actually 3 war memorials at Victoria. There's the big one. There's one around the corner, which was the parcels office, and that was the memorial to people who worked in the parcels office at Victoria Guild. And then there's another one by what they now call the Soldiers' Gate, but was always the fish dock gate. It's where the fish trains came in from Fleetwood. And that was just a memorial to all the troops, because the troops didn't go onto the platforms at Victoria to get on the trains. They actually all went through that gate, and they'd bring the troop trains in actually to the fish dock, and they'd load the troops on there and take
Is it still called Soldiers' Gate to this day?
They're now calling it after they rebuilt it all now, they're calling it the Soldiers' Gate. Originally it was a fish dock gate.
It was next door to number 1 platform. When you looked at it, that platform was the unloading the fish onto a dock. Well, that became the platform. But of course, all the fish train came in at someone every morning to get the fish to the market. So it was empty during the day, get it used. Didn't disturb any of the train, they just used it. But they used to march from Hardwick, Bury. They didn't transport them, they march from all over.
They also built several ambulance trains. One's reputedly somewhere on the continent, but these were things like 18 coaches long, and they used to bring them to major railway stations on the LMY system, split them in 2, and put half on one side of the platform, half on the other, and then they'd have an open day. All the public was invited to come along, and you go in at one end and you walk through the train, cross to the other side half of it and walk back along. They'd be selling brochures explaining all about it, and all the money went to the benevolent fund for soldiers injured and everything in the war. So all all this was done by the LMY.
First World War.
Yeah. And when it was built, I mean, Victoria's rebuilt about 3 times or so, 2 or 3 times. It was the largest station outside of London. It had 17 platforms.
That's the longest platform as well, isn't it?
It had the longest platform over a mile long with exchange station,
Yeah.
platform 11.
Yeah.
Now, my dad took me along it as a kid.
My dad's dad, no, my dad's granddad was at East Junction. And my dad and his younger brother used to jump on it and up to Ireland.
Yeah.
So,
Brilliant.
fantastic. And the berry train used to come in the platform one when I was on.
That's right, yeah. There were the commuter platforms.
Yeah.
There's some of the other platforms further across with things like Oldham, Roydon, Rochdale and stuff like that.
And the Huddersfield, didn't it?
Yeah.
Shall we think it's time to unveil the plaque?
Oh, I think so.
Gentlemen?
Right.
I wonder what that rag was doing.
That's John's shirt.
Do you want me to stand on this?
Oh, if you come here and pull it down,
Right.
perhaps if...
One on either side,
Pull on either side, we pull on either side,
Go on.
and if you can give it a push.
Hey, hold on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And great pleasure in unveiling this.
Yo!
Brilliant.
Those are the words from the plaque, the original words of the plaque that was outside, which we got from the City Council.
I'm liking the NHSP as well.
NHS, mate.
I think 3 cheers for Nigel Gresley.
Indeed.
Hooray!
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 Hooray! Ladies, gentlemen, toast.
So now,
Sir Nigel.
Nigel.